before we start point work, we need to strengthen specific areas of our body. The first area physios look at is core and trunk strength. Second of all, we focus on turnout and hip control and strength. And then we look at the lower leg, foot and ankle complex. Today, we're going to focus on 3 ways that you can strengthen your foot and ankle to help you achieve your point shoe goals.
Hey dancers, welcome back to my channel. I'm Claudia Dean and I am here today with the wonderful Louise, the pre-point physio. And today we are going to be going through the top areas that you can strengthen so you can get your point shoes and achieve your point shoe goals very soon. So before we begin, don't forget to like and subscribe and
comment below to share with us the areas that you had to work on the most before you started point work. So today we're going to look at some exercises for the calf, the ankle, and the foot intrinsic muscles that will help you get closer towards your point shoe goals.
As you can see, a point shoe is made up of so many layers. Your foot has to have the correct amount of intrinsic strength to work through all of these deep layers of the shoe. Keep working really hard at your intrinsic foot exercises so you have the maximum amount of strength when getting up onto point. Now dancers, it's time to strengthen your intrinsic foot muscles. So Louise is going to show us a few exercises to make this happen.
Okay, so the first exercise is big toe push-ups. So to do that, we need to fold the TheraBand into thirds. And if you've got a really light TheraBand, it might be good to start with that. This is quite strong. So we pop that underneath the big toe and then holding onto the 2 ends. So the first step is to bring the toe up into a little bit of extension, but keep the other toes on the ground where they are. So
that's
try and
pretty
lengthen. It is, so you'll actually feel it working all the way through this part of your foot as well.
I can.
And then as you push the band down, you'll feel it working underneath the arch of your foot.
Whoa, that is hard though, isn't it?
It should be a bit challenging. If you want to make it a bit easier, you can bring the band. And then if you try not to let the toe deviate towards the second toe, so you're keeping that all in one straight line.
So an alignment.
Yeah. And you can use a finger or something to help you keep it in line. So with this exercise, I'd aim to do 20 on each toe. So you can start with the first toe. And then when you get really comfortable with that, you can try the second toe and the 5th toe.
Let's try that one, the second toe.
Oh.
Claudia is bad at this. Oh my God, Louise, this is hard.
Yeah, so just give a little bit less, give yourself a bit less tension. Yeah.
How would I fail getting my point shoe?
No. So this is quite an advanced exercise.
Oh.
Yeah. So this exercise is actually invented by the physiotherapist for the Australian Ballet, Sue Mays.
So now we're going to move on to exercise number 2. Some of you may already know this exercise, but Louise is going to dive into a lot more detail for us.
So this is called doming. Many of you, as Claudia said, have probably tried it before. So the key things with this exercise are firstly to align the ankle in a neutral position. So try not to let the foot fish. So if you can imagine drawing a straight line down through the middle of your shin bone, all the way down through the middle of the foot between the second and third toe. That's where we want to be to practice strengthening your intrinsic muscles. And then I always ask my dancers to imagine that there's a small pocket of air forming under the arch of the foot.
Like that?
Excellent. So that's our dome. And then what we try to do when we're dome is avoid curling the toes. Yep. And just relax for me. See if Claudia can do it. And sometimes people will also bunch up the last joint in their toes.
Oh yeah, like that.
Yeah.
I've definitely seen people do that before.
Yep, so we want to try and make our toes feel nice and long and flat.
How about like extending and then trying to separate and then...
That's a good way to feel the right sensation. If you're having trouble getting the right action, so you can spread the toes out and that gives you a better starting point. Yep.
But if you're more advanced, perhaps just focus on slurping up.
Yep, or you could hold the dome for longer. So try to count to 10 or try it standing on one leg.
Ooh. that's cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Or on foam or like a wobbly surface as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Now we're going to move on to our ankle strength. So Louise is going to go through an exercise here that will really help that.
Okay, so you just need a small ball, like a tennis ball or a handball, and you're going to place it between your ankle bones. So I either get dancers to do this in one of two spots, either right on the ankle bone or like right next to the ankle bone, and then try to rise up on 2 feet, keeping the toes nice and long. So try to come back a little bit further to keep the toes nice and long. And this one is to encourage less sickling of the foot. So if you sickle, Claudia, the ball falls out. So the idea is to keep the ball in place. The next place I would ask a dancer to put the ball would be between her heel bones.
Ooh.
Yeah. And you can feel that this is maybe a little bit more challenging. So
Yeah,
that
this is
strengthens the calf and also the perineal muscles.
Yeah, I can feel it.
Yeah. You'll also notice that if you strengthen your calves in parallel, that you get a nice middle calf activation, and that's really important for balancing ankle strength and stability.
This would really help alignment too, wouldn't it, Louise?
Absolutely, yeah.
So alignment, and then also, how many calf rises should I be doing with the ball?
With the ball, you could do between 15 to 20. So these are with 2 feet, obviously, and then we're going to look at calf endurance next.
Now dancers, we're going to go through key exercises that you'll need to do to strengthen your calves.
When I'm looking at a young dancer wanting to start point, my criteria are 25 to 30 single leg calf rises in parallel. So if Claudia spins around to face the bar, and I'll just get her to start. So we want to make sure that the foot's not touching the other ankle. We also want to make sure that the fingers are nice and light at the bar, so you're not gripping onto the bar. And we're also making sure that the pelvis is nice and square. So if you let your pelvis twist for me, Claudia, yeah. So we want to bring it back into a square position. And we also want to make sure that we're rising straight up through the shoulder rather than pushing the hips forward and using momentum to rise. So it's all coming from the calf muscle. We've got the big calf muscle that's made of 2 different parts, and that's called our gastrocnemius. That's a new word for the day. Underneath that one, we've got your soleus muscle, and it works when we rise up onto demi-point with a bent knee only. So this is a really nice exercise for ankle control. We can see that it's a little bit harder to make sure that we're rising up over the 2nd and 3rd toe. And that's a really lovely exercise to work this bottom part of your calf muscle complex.
It feels shaky, hey?
Sometimes it can, yeah, because we don't often rise in that way as dancers, but it's still really important to have this nice and strong, especially for shock absorption when we land from jumps.
Now, Louise, I have a question for you. What age should dancers go on point?
So this is one that gets asked a lot, I bet.
Yes.
My recommendation is that you should have a pre-point assessment when you're 11 years of age. That's because often that's when you have to start point work for syllabus work, but it's also when you have the strength and the maturity to be able to take responsibility for doing your own exercises. And I think there's a bit of a leeway. So sometimes dancers can start point work at the very beginning of age 11 because they've done the strengthening and they're strong enough. And some dancers need to wait until they're 13, 14, 15 just to help them finish their growing and then get strong enough to be able to do point work.
So it's really personal.
It's very personal and there's a lot of variation. Yeah.
Perfect. Oh, Louise, thank you so much for coming on my channel today.
Thank you.
Thank you. So everyone, don't forget to like and subscribe, and remember to comment what Louise asked you at the beginning of the video.
See you soon.
See you soon, guys. Bye.